My grandfather disappeared in 1974. His name was Robert Sinclair. He was 42 years old, a sound engineer for the BBC, and he vanished without a trace during a solo trip to Loch Ness. The official conclusion was drowning. His body was never found. I never knew him. I was born 3 years after he disappeared. But his absence shaped my family in ways I only began to understand recently. My father rarely spoke about him. My grandmother refused to discuss what had happened. It was a wound that never healed, a mystery that was never solved. Last month, my grandmother died. She was 96. After her funeral, my father and I were tasked with clearing out her house in Inverness. That's where I found them. In a locked trunk in the attic. 12 cassette tapes, each labeled with dates from July 1974. And a letter addressed to whoever found them. The letter was in my grandfather's handwriting. It was dated July 28, 1974. 3 days before he disappeared. It read, "If you're reading this, then I didn't make it back." The recordings on these tapes document everything I witnessed at Loch Ness between July 15th and July 28th, 1974. Listen to them. All of them. And then decide what to do with the truth. I tried to leave. I couldn't. Something kept me here. Something I need to understand. I don't think I have much time left. But I need someone to know what I found. What I heard. What I recorded. This isn't folklore. This isn't legend. This is real. And it's far stranger than anyone imagines. My father didn't want to listen to the tapes. Said it would be too painful. Said some mysteries were better left unsolved. But I couldn't leave them unopened. I had to know what my grandfather had discovered. What had happened to him in those final 2 weeks. So I digitized the recordings. Listened to all 12 tapes. Heard my grandfather's voice for the first time. Heard what he documented. What he witnessed. What terrified him in those final days. And now I'm sharing them with you. Not the original audio that feels too personal, too raw. But transcripts. His words. His observations. His growing fear as he realized what he'd stumbled into. Before I continue, I need you to do something. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Leave a comment. Because what my grandfather recorded 50 years ago needs to be heard. Not because it proves anything definitively, but because it's a testimony from someone who vanished trying to understand something impossible. And that testimony deserves to be remembered. My grandfather went to Loch Ness looking for sounds. He found something far more terrifying. And these recordings are all that remains of his final days. This is the transcript of the first recording. My grandfather's voice is calm, professional. He sounds like he's documenting a routine assignment. There's no indication yet of what's coming. Recording 1. July 15th, 1974. 10:30 a.m. Location, south shore of Loch Ness, approximately 2 miles east of Fort Augustus. I've set up my equipment near the water. The BBC commissioned me to capture ambient sounds of the loch for a nature documentary. Water lapping against the shore. Bird calls. Wind in the trees. Simple work. I've brought my best microphones, my Nagra recorder, and enough tape to capture several hours of audio. The weather is overcast. Light rain. Temperature around 14 degrees Celsius. The water is calm. Visibility is poor, typical for this time of year. I can see maybe 50 yards across the surface before everything fades into grey mist. I'm running a test recording now. The microphones are positioned at the water's edge, set up to capture both surface sounds and underwater acoustics. I've used hydrophones before, mostly for recording marine life, but never in freshwater conditions like this. The local fisherman I spoke with yesterday warned me about the loch. Said strange things happen here. Equipment failures. Unusual sounds. He was probably just trying to spook the outsider. But I appreciate the folklore. Adds character to the assignment. I'm going to let the equipment run for the next few hours. See what we capture. If the weather clears, I'll get some better recordings. If not, well, moody atmospheric sound is still usable. End of recording 1. That first recording is unremarkable. Just a professional sound engineer setting up for a routine job. But it establishes the baseline. My grandfather had no intention of investigating the Loch Ness Monster. He was there to record nature sounds. Nothing more. The second recording, made that same evening, is when things began to change. Recording 2. July 15th, 1974. 9:45 p.m. Something unusual happened this evening. I need to document it while it's fresh in my mind. I was reviewing the recordings from this afternoon when I noticed something odd in the audio. Background sounds, mostly. Water movement, wind, the occasional bird. But around 3:15 p.m., there's something else. A low-frequency sound. Very low. Below the range of normal hearing, but picked up clearly by the hydrophone. I've isolated it. Played it back multiple times. It's not mechanical. Not a boat engine or construction equipment. It's organic. A vocalization of some kind. But from what animal, I can't identify. The frequency is around 20 Hz. That's below human hearing range, but many large animals can produce sounds at that frequency. Whales, elephants, some large predators. But there are no animals in Loch Ness that should be capable of producing sounds like this. The vocalization lasts approximately 40 seconds. It's not constant. It pulses. Like a call. Or a signal. And there's a pattern to it. Repetition with slight variations. That suggests intelligence. Purpose. I'm probably overthinking this. It could be some acoustic anomaly. Sound traveling through the water in unexpected ways. Echoes distorting natural noises. But I can't shake the feeling that what I recorded is something alive. Something large. Something I wasn't expecting to find. Tomorrow I'm going to reposition the hydrophone. Place it deeper. See if I can capture more of these sounds. If they're regular, if they occur at certain times, that would tell us something about their source. This is probably nothing. Probably just an interesting acoustic phenomenon that I'll write about in some obscure journal. But it's got my attention. And I want to understand it. End of recording 2. That's when it started. That's when my grandfather shifted from a routine assignment to active investigation. He'd heard something he couldn't explain. And instead of dismissing it, he decided to pursue it. If you're still watching, if you're still listening to what I'm sharing, then you understand why this matters. My grandfather found something. Something real. Something that ultimately cost him his life. And these recordings are the only evidence of what he discovered. Subscribe to this channel. Share this testimony. Leave a comment. Because what comes next, the sounds my grandfather recorded over the following days, they're unlike anything I've ever heard. And they need to be documented. They need to be remembered. My grandfather disappeared trying to understand what made those sounds. The least we can do is listen to what he left behind. Over the next 3 days, my grandfather made several recordings. Each one documents his growing fascination with the sounds he was capturing. Each one shows him going deeper into the mystery, literally and figuratively. Recording 3. July 16, 1974. 6:30 a.m. I repositioned the hydrophone last night. Placed it in deeper water, about 30 feet down. I wanted to see if the low-frequency sounds would be clearer at depth. They were. Much clearer. I recorded for 8 hours overnight. The sounds occurred 3 times. Once at 11:45 p.m. Again at 2:20 a.m. And finally at 5:05 a.m. Each instance lasted between 30 and 50 seconds. And each time, the pattern was similar but not identical. Variations on a theme. I've never heard anything like this. The sounds are complex. Layered. There are undertones and harmonics that suggest a sophisticated vocalization system. Whatever is making these sounds isn't just producing noise. It's communicating. I'm certain of it. I need better equipment. More sensitive hydrophones. Recording gear that can capture a wider frequency range. The BBC equipment is good, but it's not designed for this kind of work. I've called a colleague in London. Asked him to send some specialized gear. Should arrive in a few days. In the meantime, I'm going to continue recording with what I have. Document everything. Because I think I'm onto something significant here. Something that could change how we understand this loch. End of recording 3. Recording 4. July 17, 1974. 2:15 p.m. The sounds occurred again last night. For times. Always in the early morning hours. Always from roughly the same location, deep in the loch, maybe a quarter mile from where I've set up. I've started mapping the vocalizations. Time of occurrence. Duration. Frequency patterns. And I'm seeing patterns. The sounds happen more frequently during certain tidal cycles. That's interesting because Loch Ness isn't directly connected to the sea in an obvious way. But there are underground channels. Passages that connect to the Murray Firth. If something is moving between the loch and the sea, using those passages, then tidal influence would make sense. I spoke with a local man today. An old fisherman named Angus. He's lived here his entire life. I asked him about unusual sounds in the loch. He looked at me for a long moment, then asked why I wanted to know. I told him I was recording nature sounds. That I'd picked up some unusual acoustics. He nodded slowly. Said a lot of people have heard strange things over the years. Most don't talk about it. Don't want to be associated with the monster stories. But then he said something that stuck with me. He said his grandfather used to tell stories about the loch. About something that lived in the deep water. Something that sang. That's the word he used. Sang. Said it was a sound you felt more than heard. A vibration that went through your bones. I think he was describing infrasound. Low-frequency acoustics below human hearing. Exactly what I've been recording. Angus warned me to be careful. Said people who go looking for answers at Loch Ness sometimes don't find what they expect. Sometimes don't come back the same. I thanked him for the warning. But I can't stop now. I'm too close. End of recording 4. Recording 5. July 18, 1974. 10 p.m. The equipment from London arrived this afternoon. Better hydrophones. More sensitive recording gear. Digital frequency analyzers. I've spent the last 6 hours setting everything up, and I've already captured something remarkable. At 8:15 p.m., the vocalizations began. But this time, there were two sources. Two distinct sound signatures. They were calling to each other. I'm sure of it. One would vocalize, then stop. The other would respond. Back and forth. A conversation in frequencies below human hearing. This confirms what I've suspected. There's more than one of them. Whatever is making these sounds, it's not a solitary creature. There's a population. A group. And they communicate with each other using these low-frequency calls. I've recorded over an hour of this exchange. The complexity is staggering. The patterns, the variations, the way they seem to respond to each other. This isn't random noise. This is language. Or something very close to it. I need to see them. I need to know what's making these sounds. Tomorrow I'm going to take a boat out. Position myself over the area where the calls are coming from. See if I can observe anything. Get visual confirmation. I know this is risky. I know I should probably report this to someone. Get official support. Bring in marine biologists or acoustic specialists. But I also know what will happen if I do that. This will become a media circus. The loch will be invaded by researchers and journalists and curiosity seekers. And whatever is down there, whatever is making these sounds, it will disappear. Go deeper. Go silent. I can't let that happen. Not yet. I need to document this properly. Understand it. And then I'll decide what to do with the information. But first, I need to see them. End of recording 5. Those 3 recordings show my grandfather's transformation. He went from curious professional to obsessed investigator. He'd convinced himself he was documenting something unprecedented. And he was determined to prove it. But he was also becoming isolated. Working alone. Not telling anyone what he was doing. That isolation, that secrecy, it's what ultimately led to his disappearance. Recording 6. July 19th, 1974. 11:30 p.m. I saw them today. God help me, I saw them. I took a small boat out this morning. Motored to the area where the vocalizations have been strongest. It's deep there. Over 700 feet. The water is dark even in daylight. You can't see more than a few feet below the surface. I anchored and waited. Had my recording equipment running. Had a camera ready. I didn't know what I expected to see. Probably nothing. Probably just spend the day floating on empty water, hearing the calls on the hydrophone but seeing nothing visual. But around 2 p.m., the water began to move. Not waves. Not current. Something else. The surface bulged upward, like something massive was rising from below. Slowly. Deliberately. I grabbed the camera. Started filming. My hands were shaking, but I managed to keep it steady enough. And then something broke the surface. About 30 yards from the boat. A head. Long neck. Exactly like the descriptions people have given for decades. But seeing it in person, seeing it real and solid and undeniable, that's different from any photograph or story. The creature stayed on the surface for maybe 2 minutes. The neck swayed slowly, almost like it was tasting the air. The head was surprisingly small compared to the neck. The eyes were large, dark, positioned for binocular vision. Intelligence in those eyes. Awareness. And then it dove. Smoothly. barely a ripple. And it was gone. But that wasn't all. About 5 minutes later, another one surfaced. Different location. Smaller than the first. And then a third. This one stayed up longer. Maybe 3 minutes. I got clear footage of all three. There's a population. Multiple creatures. Living in the deep water of this loch. And they've been here, hidden, for God knows how long. I'm sitting in my tent now. It's late. I should be sleeping. But I can't. I keep thinking about what I saw. What I filmed. What I recorded. This is proof. Real, undeniable proof that something extraordinary lives in Loch Ness. But I'm also terrified. Not of the creatures themselves. They seemed peaceful. Curious, maybe, but not aggressive. What terrifies me is what happens next. What happens when I reveal this? When the world finds out? These creatures have survived by staying hidden. By remaining in the depths. By only surfacing when they feel safe. And I've documented them. Exposed them. I've made them vulnerable. I don't know what to do. Part of me wants to take this footage, these recordings, and share them immediately. Prove to the world that the monster is real. Vindicate everyone who's ever reported a sighting. But another part of me thinks I should destroy everything. Erase the recordings. Burn the film. Pretend I never saw anything. Protect these creatures by keeping them secret. I need to think. Need to decide what the right thing is. Because whatever I choose, it will have consequences. For me. For the creatures. For everyone who's ever wondered what's in the water. Tomorrow I'm going back out. Going to try to get closer. Record more vocalizations. Get better footage. And then I'll make my decision. But tonight, I'm just sitting here in the dark, knowing that I've seen something impossible. And knowing that my life will never be the same. End of recording 6. That was the last recording my grandfather made before everything changed. The last time his voice sounded rational. Controlled. After this, the recordings become darker. More frightened. More desperate. He'd seen the creatures. Documented them. And he was struggling with what to do about it. That struggle, that moral dilemma, it consumed him. And it's what led to his final days. There's a 2-day gap between recording 6 and recording 7. In that time, something changed in my grandfather. When his voice returns, it's different. Strained. Exhausted. Afraid. Recording 7. July 21st, 1974. 4:30 a.m. I haven't slept in 36 hours. Can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see them. Not the way they looked when they surfaced, but the way they look beneath the water. I went out again yesterday. Took the boat to the same location. This time I brought underwater cameras. Waterproof lights. I wanted to see what they looked like below the surface. Wanted to document them in their natural environment. The vocalization started around noon. Multiple sources. At least for distinct signatures. They were close. Very close. I could feel the sound waves through the hull of the boat. That's how powerful the calls were. I lowered the camera. 60 feet of cable. The lights barely penetrated the murky water, but the camera picked up shapes. Movement. And I saw them. Not just one or two. A group. Maybe 6 or 7. Moving together through the darkness. They're enormous. Much larger than I'd realized from the surface sightings. The necks, yes, those are long. 12 to 15 feet. But the bodies? God, the bodies are massive. 30, 40 feet long. Maybe more. Streamlined. Built for moving through water. And they move with such grace. Such intelligence. I watched them on the camera monitor for over an hour. They seemed to be aware of the camera. Would swim close to it, examine it, then move away. Curious but cautious. And the whole time, they were vocalizing. Calling to each other. Coordinating their movements. But then something happened. One of them, a large one, broke away from the group. Swam directly toward the boat. I could see it on the camera, rising up through the water column. Coming straight at me. I pulled up the camera. Started the engine. But before I could move, the creature surfaced right next to the boat. So close I could have reached out and touched it. It looked at me. Those large, dark eyes. Looking directly into mine. And I felt something. Not fear. Not exactly. More like recognition. Like it was trying to communicate something. Trying to tell me something. And then it dove. And I heard the vocalizations change. They became louder. More intense. Almost aggressive. Like the group was upset that one of them had approached me. Like they were warning it. Or warning me. I came back to shore. Reviewed the footage. And I realized something that terrifies me. These creatures aren't just animals. They're intelligent. Socially organized. They have hierarchies. They have communication systems. They have culture. That's the only word I can use. They have a culture. And I've been documenting them. Recording their calls. Filming their behavior. Invading their privacy. And I think they know it. I think they're aware of what I'm doing. And I don't think they're happy about it. Last night, around 2 a.m., I heard something outside my tent. Movement. Something large moving through the trees near the shore. I stayed inside. Stayed quiet. But I could hear it. Could hear the sound of something breathing. Something big. It stayed there for maybe 10 minutes. Just outside my tent. Waiting. Watching. And then it left. Moved back toward the water. And I heard a splash. Something entering the loch. They came onto land. One of them came onto land. Looking for me. Checking on me. I don't know why. I don't know what they want. But I know I'm not safe here anymore. I know I need to leave. Take the recordings, take the footage, and get away from this place. Before something happens. Before they decide I'm a threat. But I can't leave. Not yet. I need more evidence. More documentation. More proof. Because without it, no one will believe me. They'll dismiss the audio as anomalies. The video as shadows or boats or optical illusions. I need something definitive. Something that can't be explained away. I'm going out again today. One more time. Going to try to get closer. Record clearer vocalizations. Get better footage. And then I'm leaving. I promise. One more day and then I'm done. End of recording 7. That recording terrifies me. Not because of what my grandfather saw in the water, but because of what came onto land. Because it meant the creatures were aware of him. were monitoring him and were willing to leave their natural environment to approach him. My grandfather should have left then, should have taken what he had and gone. But he didn't. He stayed. And the next recording shows why. Recording 8. July 23, 1974. 7 p.m. Something extraordinary happened today. Something that changes everything I thought I knew about these creatures. I went out on the water this morning. Same location as before. But this time, I didn't hide. Didn't try to be subtle with my equipment. I wanted them to know I was there. Wanted them to understand that I wasn't hunting them. Just observing. Documenting. Around 10 a.m., they surfaced. All of them. Or at least, all the ones I've seen. 7 distinct individuals. They formed a circle around my boat. Maybe 40 yards out. And they stayed there. Watching me. Watching each other. And then they began to vocalize. But not like before. This was different. Louder. More deliberate. They were calling in sequence. One would vocalize, then another, moving around the circle. Like they were taking turns. Like they were speaking in order. I recorded all of it. Over 2 hours of clear, organized vocalizations. And I analyzed it in real time using the frequency equipment. And I found patterns. Repeated sequences. Variations that suggested grammar. Structure. This is language. I'm certain of it now. Not human language, obviously. But language nonetheless. A system of communication with rules. With meaning. With intent. And I think they were talking about me. I think they were discussing what to do about the human in the boat who's been recording them. Whether I'm a threat. Whether they should drive me away. Whether they should trust me. After 2 hours, one of them, the largest one, broke from the circle. Swam directly toward my boat. I didn't move. Didn't start the engine. I just watched as it approached. Its surface maybe 10 feet away. The neck rose up, water streaming off the dark skin. The head turned toward me. Those eyes looking into mine. And I felt it again. That sense of communication. Of understanding. And then it dove. And the others dove. And they were gone. But before they disappeared, I heard something on the hydrophone. A vocalization different from the others. Softer. Almost musical. And it was directed at me. I'm sure of it. They were sending me a message. Telling me something. I don't know what the message was. I don't speak their language. Can't interpret the patterns yet. But I felt its meaning. Its intent. They were acknowledging me. Accepting my presence. Allowing me to observe. They've given me permission. That's what it feels like. They've decided I'm not a threat. And they're allowing me to document them. I should be elated. This is everything I hoped for. But instead, I'm frightened. Because with permission comes responsibility. And I don't know what they expect from me. What they want me to do with this information. Whether they understand what revealing their existence means. Tomorrow I'm going to make a decision. I'm going to decide whether to share these recordings with the world or keep them secret. But tonight, I'm going to listen to the vocalizations again. Try to understand what they told me. Try to figure out what they want. End of recording 8. That recording is the turning point. That's when my grandfather stopped being an observer and became something else. A participant. Someone who'd been acknowledged by the creatures, accepted by them, and burdened with the decision of what to do with that acceptance. If you're still watching, if you're still listening to these recordings, then you need to understand what comes next. My grandfather made his decision, and it's a decision that haunted him in his final days. That may have cost him his life. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Comment below. Because what my grandfather experienced, what he documented, it needs to be remembered. Not just the sounds and the sightings, but the moral weight of knowing something the world doesn't know, and having to decide whether to reveal it. That's what these final recordings are about. The burden of truth, and the cost of revelation. Recording 9. July 25, 1974. 11:45 p.m. I've made my decision. I'm going to keep the recording secret. I'm going to hide the footage. I'm going to protect these creatures by protecting their anonymity. I know what you're thinking, whoever listens to this. You're thinking I'm wrong. That I should share this with the scientific community. That these creatures deserve to be studied. Protected officially. Made part of the recorded natural world. But you don't understand what will happen if I do that. I've spent the last 2 days thinking about it. Playing out the scenarios. And every scenario ends the same way. With the creatures losing their freedom. If I reveal them, Loch Ness will be invaded. Boats. Equipment. Researchers. Media. Tourists. The water will never be quiet again. Never be safe again. And the creatures will either flee or be captured. Probably captured. Because humans don't discover something extraordinary and then leave it alone. We study. We control. We possess. I can't do that to them. Can't be responsible for ending centuries of successful hiding. Can't be the person who exposes them to a world that will treat them as specimens rather than beings. So I'm taking the recordings, taking the footage, and I'm hiding them. Somewhere safe. Somewhere they won't be found unless I want them to be found. And I'm going to leave. Going to go back to London. Going to resume my normal life. And I'm going to carry this secret with me. It's the right decision. I know it is. But it's also the hardest decision I've ever made. Because part of me wants recognition. Wants to be known as the person who proved the Loch Ness Monster exists. Wants the fame and the validation and the place in history. But that's ego. And ego can't be allowed to override what's right. These creatures deserve their privacy. Their freedom. Their continued existence on their own terms. Tomorrow I'm packing up. Loading everything into the car. And I'm leaving. For good. I won't come back to Loch Ness. Won't return to the water. This chapter of my life is closing. But before I go, I want to say something to the creatures. I know they can't hear this recording. No, they'll never understand human language. But I need to say it anyway. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to see you. To hear you. To understand, even in a small way, what you are. You are magnificent. Ancient. Wise. And you deserve to remain hidden. To remain free. I will keep your secret. I promise. No one will know what I found here. No one will disturb your home. You are safe. I give you my word. Tomorrow I leave. And this story ends. The recordings will be hidden. The footage will be locked away. And the mystery of Loch Ness will remain unsolved. As it should be. End of recording 9. But it didn't end. My grandfather didn't leave. The next recording, made 3 days later, explains why. And it's the most disturbing recording in the collection. Recording 10. July 28, 1974. 3:30 a.m. I can't leave. I tried. God, I tried. But I can't. I packed everything 3 days ago. Loaded the car. Said goodbye to the loch. Started driving back to London. Got about 50 miles away. And then I had to stop. Had to pull over. Because I was hearing them. Not on recordings. Not through equipment. I was hearing them in my head. The vocalizations. The calls. The low-frequency sounds that should be inaudible. I was hearing them clearly. Like they were inside my skull. I thought I was going crazy. Thought the stress and lack of sleep had finally broken something in my brain. But then I realized what was happening. The infrasound. The low-frequency vocalizations. They don't just travel through water. They travel through the air. Through the ground. And they can affect human neurology. Can create sensations. Emotions. Compulsions. The creatures have been calling me. Constantly. Since I tried to leave. And the calls are getting stronger. More insistent. More impossible to ignore. I turned the car around. Drove back to Loch Ness. Set up camp again in the same spot. And the moment I got back to the water, the calls stopped. The pressure in my head released. I could breathe again. They don't want me to leave. They're keeping me here. I don't know why. Don't know what they want from me. But I can feel it. Feel their presence. Feel their attention focused on me. Last night I went down to the water. Stood at the edge. And one of them surfaced. Close to shore. The large one. The one that seems to be the leader. It looked at me for a long time. And I understood. It was telling me something. Showing me something. I belong here now. With them. I'm not leaving. Not because I choose to stay. But because they've chosen me to stay. I'm part of this now. Part of their world. And I can't go back to the human world. Can't pretend I don't know what I know. Can't pretend I don't hear what I hear. I'm recording this because I don't know what happens next. Don't know if I'll make another recording. Don't know how much longer I can resist what they're asking of me. If someone finds these tapes, if someone listens to this, you need to understand something. The creatures at Loch Ness aren't just animals. They're not just intelligent. They're powerful. They have abilities we don't understand. They can affect us. Change us. Keep us. I thought I was studying them. Observing them. But they were studying me. Evaluating me. Deciding if I was worthy. And I failed some test I didn't know I was taking. I'm going to the water now. Going to meet with them one more time. Going to see what they want. What they need from me. And if I don't come back from this meeting, if this is the last recording, then at least someone will know what happened. Will understand that I didn't leave voluntarily. That I was called. Chosen. Taken. The loch is beautiful at night. The water is black. The stars reflected on the surface. And below, in the depths, they're waiting. Singing their songs. Calling me home. I'm going now. I'm ready. Whatever happens, I'm ready. End of recording 10. That was the last recording my grandfather made. 3 days later, he was reported missing. His equipment was found at his campsite. The tent was still standing. His car was parked nearby. But he was gone. Vanished without a trace. The search lasted 2 weeks. They dragged sections of the loch. Found nothing. Eventually concluded he'd drowned. That he'd gone into the water, maybe to record sounds, and didn't come back out. But we know that's not what happened. We know he went willingly. Went to meet the creatures. Went because he couldn't resist their call. What happened to him after that, we'll never know. Did they take him into the depths? Did he die trying to understand them? Or did he become something else? Something between human and whatever they are? I'll never have those answers. But I have his recordings. And they tell a story that needs to be heard. There are 2 more recordings on the tapes. But they're not my grandfather's voice. They're just sounds. Vocalizations. The same low-frequency calls he documented throughout his time at the loch. But these recordings were made on July 29th and July 30th, 1974. After my grandfather disappeared. Someone, or something, used his equipment. Turned on the recorder. And captured hours of vocalizations. Crystal clear. Organized. Deliberate. I've analyzed these recordings. Run them through every acoustic analysis program I can find. And the patterns are undeniable. They're not random. They're structured. They're language. And in those final recordings, among all the complex vocalizations, there's something else. A sound that doesn't match the others. A higher frequency. Almost human in quality. Like a voice trying to speak through underwater acoustics. I've isolated it. Enhanced it. And when I play it back, slowed down and filtered, I can almost make out words. Almost hear human speech buried in the alien vocalizations. Almost hear my grandfather's voice saying, "I understand. I'm with them now. Don't look for me. I'm home." I don't know if that's real. Don't know if I'm hearing what I want to hear. Or if my grandfather somehow merged with the creatures. Became part of their communication. Part of their world. But I know this. My grandfather went to Loch Ness looking for nature sounds. And he found something far stranger. Something that called to him. Something that kept him. Something that made him part of something larger than human understanding. These recordings are all that remains of Robert Sinclair. His voice. His observations. His final days. And they deserve to be heard. Not because they prove anything definitively, but because they document one man's encounter with something impossible. Something that cost him everything. I'm sharing these transcripts with you now because I believe my grandfather would want his story told. Would want people to know what he found. What he heard. What took him. The creatures are still in Loch Ness. Still in the deep water. Still calling to each other in frequencies below human hearing. And maybe, if the final recordings are real, my grandfather is still with them. Still part of their world. Still singing their songs. I'll never know for certain. But I know this. Loch Ness holds more than water and fish and legend. It holds something ancient. Something intelligent. Something that can call to us. Change us. Take us. My grandfather answered that call. And he never came back. If you're planning to visit Loch Ness, if you're planning to investigate the mystery, please remember his story. Remember that some things are more powerful than we understand. Some mysteries are dangerous to pursue. Some calls should not be answered. My grandfather learned that too late. But maybe his recordings can save someone else from the same fate. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video. Leave a comment. Tell me if you've heard similar calls. If you felt similar compulsions near deep water. If you've experienced anything that makes you understand what my grandfather went through. Because I think he wasn't the first. And I'm afraid he wasn't the last. The creatures are still calling. Still waiting. Still looking for those who will hear them. Those who will understand them. Those who will join them. My grandfather was one of those people. And somewhere in the depths of Loch Ness, I believe he still is. Listening to the songs. Adding his voice to theirs. Part of something we can't comprehend. That's what the recordings tell me. That's what I believe. And that's what I needed to share. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing my grandfather's final testimony. And please, be careful. If you hear the calls, if you feel the pull, remember Robert Sinclair. And choose differently than he did. The water is beautiful. But what lives beneath it is more powerful than we can imagine. And once it calls to you, you may never escape. My grandfather never did. 6 weeks after I uploaded these transcripts, something arrived at my apartment. A package. No return address. Just my name and address written in handwriting I didn't recognize. Inside was a cassette tape. New. Recently recorded. And a note that read, "From the depths. For Robert's grandson. Listen alone." I digitized the tape. Played it on my computer with headphones. And I heard it. The vocalizations. The same low-frequency calls my grandfather documented 50 years ago. Hours of structured communication. Language from something that lives in darkness. And at the end of the recording, buried in the alien sounds, I heard a voice. Distorted. Underwater. But unmistakably human. It said my name. Called to me. Invited me to the water. To the loch. To the depths where my grandfather went. I haven't responded. Haven't gone to Scotland. Haven't even looked at maps of Loch Ness. Because I know what will happen if I do. I'll feel the pull. The compulsion. The call that my grandfather couldn't resist. And I'll go. Despite knowing better. Despite understanding the cost. I'll go to the water. And I'll join him. Join them. Become part of whatever exists in those depths. That's the inheritance Robert Sinclair left me. Not money or possessions or family memories. But a call from something ancient. Something that took him. Something that wants me too. I don't know if I'm strong enough to resist it forever. Don't know if anyone is. But I know this. The recordings are real. The creatures are real. And they're still there. Still calling. Still waiting. My grandfather answered. And now they're calling his grandson. I just hope I'm stronger than he was. Hope I can resist what he couldn't. Hope I never hear my own voice added to theirs, calling from the depths, inviting others to join us. But some nights, when it's very quiet, I swear I can hear it. The low-frequency hum. The song beneath hearing. The call from the water. And every day, it gets a little bit louder.